Hello everybody, this is the 36th lecture for IELTS المساحة القصير. Today we are taking Book 15 Academic Writing Test 1, Tasks 1 and 2. Task 1 says, you should spend about 20 minutes on this task. The chart below shows the results of a survey about people's coffee and tea buying and drinking habits in 5 Australian cities. And it's us summarize and these things. Coffee and tea buying and drinking habits in 5 cities in Australia. You have them. Then you have the color of the drawing is different. The first one bought fresh coffee, it lasts for weeks. The second one bought instant coffee, it lasts for weeks. And the third one went to a cafe for coffee or tea, it lasts for weeks. The table depicts the outcomes of a questionnaire of how often people buy and drink different types of coffee in Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, Adelaide, and Hobart of Australia. Okay, we notice here that we have spelling mistake and also grammatical mistake. The first spelling mistake is questionnaire. The spelling is wrong, and you have the grammatical mistake. Different types should be different types, not a, because a means one. We cannot pluralize the noun after it. The first option is bought a fresh coffee, it lasts for weeks, and Sydney has 43.7% of city residents and has almost the same amount, and Melbourne, which is 42.2%, Brisbane and Adelaide have a nearly same amount, for 34.2% and 34.4%. Next, Hobart has 38.3%. The second line is about instant coffee, it lasts for weeks. Brisbane has 52.6%. Other two cities that have almost, it should be almost, the same number are Adelaide 49.8% and Melbourne 48.3%. The lowest number is 45.5% of Sydney and the highest number is 54.1% of Hobart. The last option of the survey shows the percentage of city residents that went to a cafe for coffee or tea. It lasts for weeks. In Sydney, people went to a cafe for coffee or tea. It lasts for weeks. 61% of city residents. This should have been of the city residents because it specifies which residents. And in Brisbane, citizens went to a cafe for coffee or tea. There's a mistake here, should be or tea. It lasts for weeks, 55.4%. The lowest is Adelaide, 49.9% of the city residents. And Hobart, people went to a cafe for coffee or tea. It lasts for weeks, 62.7%. The highest is Melbourne, that shows 63.3%. In conclusion, the highest number of the survey is the percentage of city residents that went to a cafe for coffee or tea and lasts for weeks because it shows almost the highest percentage in three types. Okay. This person who wrote this piece of writing took 6. That means this writing is a band score of 6. Could have taken 7.5 or even 8 if just defeat those simple mistakes, the grammatical and spelling mistakes. Okay, here is the examiner's comment. This answer covers all 3 categories and shows a good level of grouping and comparison of information in each category. The descriptions are supported by accurate data. Organization is clear. Introduction and overview, 1 paragraph per category, and there is evidence of cohesive devices. The first option, the second line, the last option. Vocabulary is generally adequate and appropriate for the task in spite of occasional errors. Questionnaire, almost, Grammar shows a mix of simple and complex sentence structures with a reasonable level of accuracy. A reasonable level of accuracy. That means they deducted from his mark. A wider range of vocabulary and or grammatical range would help to improve the score here. Okay, you've noticed the comments here of the examiner. That means please and please pay attention to how you write. This is really important. You need to give the full data as that person did here, this piece of writing, and secondly you need to compare as that person did here, but also at the same time pay attention to your spelling mistakes and to your grammatical mistakes. Okay, let's go on here to the second. Writing task 2. In some countries, owning a home rather than renting one is very important for people. Why might this be the case? Do you think this is a positive or negative situation? In some countries, the ownership of people's home is an important matter. In these countries, it's very important to own your own home rather than renting it. It might be indifferent for some, but for these people it matters. Okay, indifferent is a great use here. The last word for these people it matter should be it matters. This is a grammatical mistake. Also, it was better to write the opinion here, in my opinion, for example, here in the introduction. Why? Because it will raise your band score. It might give you half a mark extra. Okay, why is that the case? You might wonder. I think it's because your home is supposed to be exactly what it sounds like, your home. As a human, I think we long after having stuff to call our home, our own. Doesn't matter what it is, but humans will always want to claim ownership. This is nothing new, and it has been like this through human history. Like colonies, for example, which later once again became the same country as before, led by its own inhabitants. People will always want to be the one to decide what happens to them, and when you rent your home, you can't even paint it without the owner's permission. Okay, we have some abbreviation here. It's better not to have any abbreviations in your writing, just like doesn't, should be, does not, can't, could, should be, cannot. Okay, if you as a person are renting, okay, if you, we need to follow it by comma, as a person, a comma, and we go on. Are renting, that means we have some punctuation mistake here. Renting an apartment there might be a lot of stressors in your life. A scratched wall can cause you a major headache because the wall was not yours. The bedroom you are currently sleeping in might not be available as long as you hope. Things happen in life, and maybe the next landlord will not want to have you as a tenant. In other perspective, okay, now we have the other opinion. Not owning your home could be a relief when it comes to your finance. As a renter, you will not have to pay mortgage, take loans, or spend an awful lot of money on buying the property. You would not have to worry about the house market crashing or a natural disaster destroying your expensive home. Bottom line, which means the conclusion, in conclusion, as a human, I feel like we need to have a home, and calling it your own can make that more special. I personally, okay, we have the opinion here. I personally would rather own my house because then whatever happens, it's on me and no one else. Okay, we have a great use of vocabulary here, just like indifferent, and a range of vocabularies are used here. we have some grammatical mistakes, punctuation mistakes, and also at the same time we have good move from of an opinion and to the opposite opinion. This makes difference here. It's a slight move. Sorry. So this person took 7, but could have taken 8 or even 8.5 if just paid attention to those simple mistakes, and especially writing an opinion, one's opinion or his opinion in the introduction. Let's see the comment of the examiner. Here's the examiner's comment. The candidate clearly explains why home ownership may be of importance to some people. She or he also explores the positive and negative sides of owning your own home before putting forward his or her own opinion. The task is well addressed and ideas are explored in some depth. Organization is clear, with good use of cohesive devices and paragraphing, and the message is easy to follow. The range of vocabulary is appropriate, with examples of less common item, long after, for, house, housing market, and good use of collocations, claim ownership, a major headache, pay mortgage, natural disaster, the bottom line. Those are all examples. There is a variety of complex sentence structures with a high level of accuracy and only a minor error in punctuation. Owners, the apostrophe S, the possessive S. Okay, I wish that you got the benefit of this lecture. If you liked it, please just press the button of subscribe. If you have any questions, write them in the comments. If you have a criticism, please write it in the comments too. Thank you very much. That was Mr. Haidar Qasir with you. Thanks for watching.